gambling, but they did invent dice. And there were card games throughout the Middle Ages. Casinos were first established in Renaissance Europe. In the 1600s, the Puritans brought gambling to the United States. Poker was prevalent. In the 19th century, the first slot machine came in 1891. There are a lot of laws that outlawed gambling in the early 20th century, sort of along the lines of prohibition. And then lotteries in Las Vegas, and there was kind of a small growth of gambling in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. But the big day in the history of professional sports betting in the United States was May 14, 2008. That was the day the Supreme Court overturned what was called the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act. And what that did was that allowed every state to implement sports betting how they saw fit. So every single state that wants to do sports betting is doing it on their own terms. The state of New Jersey was the plaintiff in that suit, and they had a sports book up. The Supreme Court decision was issued on May 14th, and the state of New Jersey had a sports book operating by the Belmont Stakes 2 weeks later because they had already legalized gambling. They had already signed deals with William Hill, DraftKings, FanDuel, a lot of companies you've probably heard of. So they were up and running with legal sports betting within 3 weeks of the Supreme Court okaying it. And, you know, obviously betting's been around. Many of us might have had parents who lived in East Cambridge who bet with the bookie out of George's Variety Store on Windsor Street. Or maybe not. Some of us might have gone to bracket school in Arlington and were buying $2 football parlay cards for $2 when they were in 6th grade. And boy, all you had to do was pick 14 winners and you can win $100. That's pretty easy, isn't it? Yeah, no. But there's a big, obviously my work, our company is rooted in legal sports betting. And why does legal sports betting matter? First, integrity, i.e. you're dealing with legitimate companies. There's a lot of offshore sports books like Bovada, you hear a lot about them, and others, but there's no regulation involved. There's no oversight. And when I say oversight, I mean if you hit a $5,000 parlay on some of these offshore sites, you might not get paid. If you hit a $5,000 parlay with DraftKings in New Hampshire, they're going to pay you on the spot, or the state will shut them down. Revenue, and when I say revenue, I mean revenue for the government, for the states. We're going to get to that in a minute. We have some numbers and such. But obviously with illegal bookies or offshore sports books, there's no revenue involved for the state. It's an activity that exists, much like cigarettes and alcohol and now marijuana, which is something that is considered illegal, but also obviously something that most folks or a lot of people partake in. Finally, pro leagues want a piece of this, not necessarily a piece of the action, because they tried that, but they see this as a way to increase fan interest, especially in sports like baseball, where the audience is skewing much older and the game is perceived as being slow. There's technology that exists right now where you can bet on the next pitch, you can bet on the next at bat, and so it's to the point now where during football and basketball games, lines are continually changing during the game. Celtics might be a 6-point favorite at tip-off, but if they're up by 12 points at the half, they're a 9-point favorite. So it's like online trading or any other technology-based industry where as the game progresses, the lines change, the point spreads change, the money lines change, the over and unders change. Now, I titled this Changing the Game, and I wanted to put sports betting in a little bit of perspective for you men, and sort of, I put this together, I picked out 10 events or personalities that were really changing moments in professional sports in this country. And this is sort of a chronological list. It's hardly a list of moral importance or, what was bigger than other, but this is really a chronology thing. And the first thing, if you want to talk about the growth of professional sports in America, is Babe Ruth. He was the first national sports figure. He was the first national media figure. He was the first he sort of had a fellow named Christy Walsh, who was sort of considered the first sports agent of all time, who got Ruth endorsement deals and helped him build his fortune. And of course, he still resonates today, especially among Red Sox fans. The second, or number 9, as we count down, as we like to do, was radio. Radio allowed everyone to share their experiences at the same time. It delivered live in the moment results of events. The announcers, made athletes mythical figures because they would use these flowery terms to describe what they did on the field or on the diamond or in the boxing ring. And they also heightened interest in various sports. Next, of course, with a little delay thanks to World War II, was television. Television brought the games into your house. It allowed sports to grow exponentially because it created a window for national audiences and, more importantly, national sponsors. Auto companies, beer companies, Pepsi, Coke, all that stuff. And then you got to see teams and athletes that you would have never seen otherwise because you didn't have to just go to the ballpark. You could sit home and watch a game from New York, Kansas City, LA, or Chicago. Integration, probably far more important historically, but from a chronological standpoint, Jackie Robinson, as you know, broke baseball's color barrier in 1947. For a little Boston perspective, you may or may not know that the Boston Braves had a black ball player in 1950 named Sam Jethro, a.k.a. the Jet. He was the National League MVP and Rookie of the Year in 1950. Of course, it took the Red Sox another 9 years to sign Kumsey Green. You know all about that. Thank you, Tom Yaki. I live in Florida. I've worked in Florida for 20 years now. I work in North Carolina. Integration was a slow process, unlike some of the other things on this list, especially when we get to technology issues. And it's still an issue, obviously, in the NFL and elsewhere. Up next on our little top 10 game changers, Title IX. Title IX is why we have women's sports in the United States. It demanded the equal devotion of resources among men and women by any institution that receives federal funding. When you hear the phrase Title IX, when you hear the phrase Title IX, that's literally what it means. It means that if you're an institution that gets government funding, you have to devote an equal amount of resources to men and women's sports. This was signed into law in 1972, but as you can see, it really took 25 years for it to manifest itself with the 1996 Olympics and the 1999 World Cup. And as you can see now, that there are women's professional sports in the United States, and it continues to grow on the collegiate level. And the other thing it did was it created an entire generation of women who like to watch sports, in addition to participate in them. So what this did was double the potential market for professional teams. Free agency, number 5, Reggie Jackson. Free agency came to being when an arbitrator ruled that Dave McNally and Andy Messerschmidt could become free agents. This was working for the baseball collective bargaining agreement, and obviously it is what it is. It allows free agents, allows baseball players to test the market. We all want to test the market. If I'm an attorney and I want to go to work for the guy across the street, I should be able to do that unless I'm under contract, right? And what free agent did was it shot ticket prices, player salaries, television contracts, and team values eventually all skyrocketed because the money grew, and it allowed you to see a guy like Reggie Jackson in New York, even though he would have been stuck in Oakland his entire career prior to free agency. Cable television. Now you get to see these technology advances that really expedited change. Cable TV, the Cubs and the Braves became national teams because they were on superstations. ESPN changed everything. I don't think I can describe that any better or more concise. Events that were televised, the NFL Draft, the NFL Combine, the March Madness Selection Show. All of these things that we take for granted on television were never on television before cable because we only had 3 networks and 3 channels. And now you have teams like, we'll just keep it here. The Red Sox own NESN. The Bruins and Red Sox actually own a piece of NESN. So they have a channel that shows all their games. We take that for granted now, but that wasn't the case back in the day. Certainly prior to cable. Next, number 3, internet. Social media. I lump these together even though they're probably separate. This allows us to follow statistics in real time. It allows us to comment on games in real time. It allows us to stream video from wherever we're at. We're not tethered to a television set or a cable box. It also allows for the rise of bloggers and non-traditional commentary, kind of what I do or did a lot of at Boston.com and what others do. And social media has grown exponentially probably since 2012. That's not only allowed fans to interact and share opinions among themselves in real time, it's also allowed athletes to get on the game. And athletes have finally gotten the point where they can now control their narrative through social media. We see it all the time. LeBron James will post a video on Instagram offering his thoughts on something. Or, a player will tweet something. Whereas before they were relying on members of the press to get their message out. Now, primarily thanks to social media, they're able to do it themselves. Number 2, fantasy. And the reason why I put this here, and I use the term gateway drug, because this was, DraftKings is based here in Boston. FanDuel was the other major site. And about 5 years ago, you couldn't watch a sporting event without an ad for FanDuel or DraftKings. Every time you watched a ball game, there was a commercial. Sign up with DraftKings. Sign up with FanDuel. We're going to give you $1 million to play fantasy sports. And they were hemorrhaging cash doing this. But there was a reason why they did it. Because they knew that eventually that law that I mentioned earlier, the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, was going to be overturned by the Supreme Court. There were billions of dollars at stake when that decision was coming down, and they all bet on the winning side because they all believed the Supreme Court would overturn the law, which was inherently flawed because it allowed sports betting to exist in states where it had existed, but outlawed it in others. And the Supreme Court found that to be fundamentally unfair, which it was. So companies like DraftKings and FanDuel, they're 2 major players in the sports betting market. And the reason why is they had a 5-year head start of building customers, of building the data, of building the technology it takes to run a live online digital sports book. And finally, we get to legal sports betting. And the reason why I just went through those previous slides was to try to give you a perspective of where this fits in the history and the development of pro sports in the United States and college sports. Again, we go back to the Supreme Court decision in 2018. All that decision did was it allowed each state, it was a classic 10th Amendment decision that allowed each state to set its own rules and own laws in regard to sports betting. The federal government said, we're going to get out of the sports betting business. We're going to let the states decide. Right now, there's legal sports betting in 14 states. This number changes almost daily. It's anywhere between 17 and 20, depending on how you want to consider it. There's states where it's being talked about in the legislature. There's states where it's actually being voted. Maine, for instance, passed a bill to legalize sports betting. The governor vetoed it. Last week, they failed to override the governor's veto. And of course, the legal online element is crucial for the consumer, industry profitability, and state revenue. That's the party line, and it's a party line for a reason. Because, like I said, if you're betting with the local bookie, if you're betting with an offshore sports bookie, you might not get paid if you win. That happens a lot. State revenue. The state doesn't get a dime when you bet on Bovada. The state certainly doesn't get a dime when you might perhaps have played the number at George's store in East Cambridge 40 or 50 years ago, if you were my dad. And so, what this does is takes a practice that's been around, as we saw, for thousands of years. It's been in this country for hundreds of years. It's been inexorably linked with sports going back before the Black Sox scandal in 1919. And it's being brought into the sunshine and become a profitable, legitimate enterprise. This sort of gives you an idea of how it's progressing in terms of development. The red is where it's live and legal. And some of these states it's legal, but they haven't really put it into play yet, and others, sort of like Massachusetts, is kind of where it's up for discussion this year in 2020. Here's some numbers to kind of give you a feel for how much this has grown in less than 2 years. That's $13 billion taken in the year 2019 by legal sports books, both brick and mortar and online. Every dollar bet in a legal sports book is logged and cataloged by the state because the state's getting a cut, so they want to make sure the money's counted. 59% of that money has come from states. Basically, this means outside Nevada. Nevada's in sports betting since the 1930s. So 60% of the money bet on sports betting last year has come from states not named Nevada. That's really what that means. And here's the number that a lot of people like to focus on. This is $118 million of state and local revenue that's been generated by online sports betting. And this is just to sort of give you a perspective. This is in millions of dollars. So Nevada had $5.3 billion of legal sports betting. Of course, they're in Las Vegas. They've done it for a while. New Jersey, in only one full year, this is 2019, only one full year, you see New Jersey's almost caught Nevada in terms of legal, online, and on-site sports betting. Pennsylvania, Indiana, Mississippi, et cetera, et cetera. There's Rhode Island. New Hampshire didn't legalize it until December 30th, so they really want to be on this chart. So this sort of gives you just an idea of the potential in a place like New Jersey, which got it on the ground running, where next year this number is going to be out to about here, and Nevada will not. Nevada is pretty stacked, and it's actually kind of declining. I'll get to. Go ahead.
So if you live in Massachusetts, do you bet online?
No. I do have. I'll get to that in a second. Just so you know, these are some of the companies that are involved in legal sports betting. You probably heard this the last couple of weeks. This is Barstool, founded in Boston. Penn National Gaming. That deal actually became official today. Penn National bought a third of Barstool for $136 million because they've been in business since 1923, but no one's ever heard of them. Barstool's been around for 20 years and has a huge audience. They have the gambling mechanism, the casinos, the licenses, they have the potential bettors. A lot of these companies, this is Fox, they have their own DraftKings. William Hill is a sports book based in England. It's been around since the 1830s. And some of these are companies that are from Europe and others are from the United States. Now, I did a little slide on New Hampshire and Rhode Island to get to Paul's question. Bet in any state where it's legal, you have to be physically within the confines of that state. For instance, New Hampshire allows online sports betting. You can download the DraftKings app and place bets in the state of New Hampshire, providing you're over 18 and you've deposited money in your account. But once you cross the line into Massachusetts and your locator app on your phone is going to tell them you cannot bet. So you have to physically be within the state where it's legal. That's your argument for why it should be in Massachusetts, right? It's run by the lottery. The state is getting 50% of the net revenue set aside for education, and they'll probably net about $7 million. Rhode Island's a little bit more mature in terms of a market. Rhode Island got on board in 2018, much like New Jersey. They were preparing for this decision. You have to register in person, which is kind of, you have to go to Twin Rivers to register. That's the place. You go to Twin Rivers Casino. It used to be the Lincoln Dog Park, where I wagered in the past among my many stops at Wonderland and Ring. There is no option for additional providers. There's only one place you can bet. You can download their app. And this is, since sports betting was legalized, the handle is the amount of money they've taken in. That includes, this is all the bets they've taken in. Now, a large number of that is paid out to winners. The net revenue was $60 million, and the state's cut is 55%. So this is basically about 20 months worth of numbers. And finally, that brings us to Massachusetts. And who the hell knows what they're gonna do on Beacon Hill? They have legislation proposed, but again, it's Massachusetts. So whoever, greases the most politicians' wings. So I put this together to give you all kind of a perspective of where sports betting is and its potential and its place in history and in sports. Now I'll close this up. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions I can about sports betting or anything else that you'd like to discuss.
I got a question. So you had mentioned to me that the goal here is to get people that they will actually be able to bet in the ballpark while they're watching the game?
The dream scenario, like you can do this in Pennsylvania, you can do this in New Jersey, you can do this in Indiana right now.